Welcome to another episode of Extreme Metal Television. I'm your host, James. This week we spoke to Exhumed and we also spoke to Cauldron. Check out our brand new website, extrememetal.tv. Right now, we're going to get things going with a band profile.
Netheriel was formed in 2007 in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. They released 3 albums, 2009's Ragnum Inferni, 2010's The 9 Virtues of Destruction, and 2013's Abysmal Revelations.
Tell us about your new album, Abysmal Revelations.
All right, well, we just finished it a couple months ago, and the recording process went pretty smoothly. It's admittedly a little less technical than the last album, but it's still pretty fucking heavy. Yeah, we're pretty proud of it.
You guys have a bit of an old school death metal sound, I noticed. Was that like a conscious decision, or like was that something that you've been into your entire life? We'll get an opinion on everybody from it.
Well, I get different opinions on what class of death metal we actually are, but for the most part, I think for the live sound, I think old school death metal is accurate. It just turned out that way over the course of time, between the different members we've brought in, etc. So I drew the sketches for all the artwork, and my former bandmate, well, he's coming back actually, Richard, colored it in. So it was between us two. Except for the art on the last album, we actually got a professional painter to do that.
Why did you decide to name your band Netheriel?
That came over the course of time, actually. I was shooting some names to Richard when we were deciding on a band name, and he liked the name Netheriel, fictional word, obviously. So it kind of stuck.
Canada's Cauldron released their 3rd full-length album, Tomorrow's Lost, via Earache Records last year. The band was recently on tour in Brazil. ENTV's Carolyn caught up with them when they were in Calgary.
How'd you guys all come together in this Cauldron?
Well, I was a fan of Goathorn, so I was listening to them like up to when they broke up, and then figured, well, hey, I play guitar, so.
And when did you come into the equation?
Last July.
Yeah?
So I'm pretty fresh.
How's it been for you?
That's been great. This band's really busy. That's why I wanted to join. They play the style of music I like.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's tuneful.
He likes to play.
I like to play.
What do you got? What's your view on the music industry today?
Well, I mean, we're not kidding ourselves. We know it's pretty dead end. I mean, that's kind of
dead industry.
Getting back to the album title, Tomorrow's Lost. I guess that's kind of got something to do with it.
You better be doing it because you're a fan of music and not because you're in it to make money.
We have no delusions, we know what we're in for, but we just play because we like it, we're fans. So.
Yeah. Artists have to put a lot more work into the business side of their band nowadays than
So what do you think of like crowdfunding projects, like Indiegogo?
It's great if you have a crowd, but it depends on your crowd, right?
Yeah.
We're too proud to ask people for money.
We haven't done that. We're not ready to start begging for change.
Tomorrow's Lost. Can you explain the concept of that album?
You're closer.
I don't know.
Tomorrow's Lost is just a title that Ian came up with, and we both thought it sounded cool, so we went with it. And the album cover art was inspired by some Dan Seagrave style album covers, and Thomas Cole and
John Martin.
John Martin.
John Martin, who painted the first Angel Witch cover.
Finally, where can we find you guys online?
geocities.com/Cauldron69.
AOL online.
members.tripod.com/Facebook/Cauldron Metal.
Yeah, just look up Cauldron Metal and everything should come up there.
Yeah, everything's, just type in Cauldron Metal as one word and all our crap comes up.
Hey, we're Finn Troll, and you're watching
Extreme Metal TV.
Gore Grinders Exhumed will be releasing a split album with Iron Reagan early next year that follows hot on the heels of the band's latest full-length album, Necocracy. Our very own Cody caught up with guitarist and vocalist Matt Harvey when they were in town.
You guys have just released your 6th album entitled Necocracy.
I don't know why people keep saying, including our record label, say it's our 6th album. There's Gore Metal, Slaughter Cult, Anatomy is Destiny, All Guts No Glory, and Necocracy. Covers album doesn't count, nor does the compilation. So that's not directed at you. That's directed at the label and the press, like our publicist, who is a wonderful woman. I love you, Liz. But it's our 5th album.
It is categorized as a discography, but you do not approve of it.
No, the record,
awesome.
because the other stuff, I mean, a covers album doesn't count.
Yeah.
And like a demo collection, that's not like a proper record. So it's our 5th record.
I'll actually ask you about that one first. Is what made you want to rate the covers album? Do you think that's important for bands to do? Or?
I think I just felt like we were getting pigeonholed, and the whole genre of death metal was kind of narrowing at the time, and like more like this like brutal death metal thing. And I wanted to make sure that people knew that we had a lot of other influences from everything from like shit that's not metal to like regular rock and roll to like doom and punk and crust and stuff. And I just, it was just kind of something that was more for fun for us or whatever, So it does not count as a full-length album. Just saying.
For the latest release, Necocracy, how do you feel this album differed from the previous releases?
I mean, for me, every new record that we do is generally my favorite. But I feel like it's a little bit more song-oriented, The last one I feel like kind of ran together because it was just so much fast stuff or whatever. And this one has a little bit more groove. It's a little bit more melody. The songs have a little bit more breathing room. So the songs tend to stand apart from each other a little bit more, which I thought was really important. Coming from like the grind scene or whatever, that's always been something that's been like difficult to do, As much as I love like the first Carcass record or like From Enslavement by Napalm Death or whatever, like some of the songs tend to run together because there's like 30 seconds of just blast beats and then on to the next song or whatever. And we kind of arrived at the end of the tunnel from where we came from, which was part of that. And I think it's just catchier and a little bit better written, a little bit different kind of sound. The last one is kind of like a big wall of everything at once, and then this one is like there's a little bit more separation, between the instruments. So I'm pretty stoked on it, which is a good feeling.
What was your vision when you formed Exhumed?
Just your typical 15-year-old, just be the fastest, nastiest, sickest, heaviest, grossest, most offensive, shocking death metal band that you can be. I mean, normal stuff, I mean, we were super into like, Terrorizer and Carcass and Entombed and Carnage and Bolt Thrower, and also, American stuff like early Obituary and Early Death and Autopsy and the first Cannibal Corpse record, and of course like the older stuff like Master and Repulsion or whatever, and just trying to like outdo all of our favorite bands and gross out everybody, and but I think because we're from like the Bay Area, we couldn't help but sort of return to like where we came from, which was like Exodus and Metallica and Testament and Forbidden, Violence, and Dark Angel and Slayer, which is all the stuff that we grew up on. So it ended up, once we kind of found our own sound, kind of being a mix of all that stuff, you know.
You guys are dubbed old school death metal still. Of course, gore metal, because the name of the first album.
Right,
and,
right.
And like, that's something that's always kept.
Yeah.
Regardless of what's going on with Exhumed. But like, what do you think of like how death metal's expanded? It's given influences to tons of subgenres, just like thrash kind of set off a lot of stuff as well. And
you know, I mean, for me, like, I always worry because like I'm just sort of like that old guy. Like, I mean, mostly what I listen to is like new wave of British heavy metal and like early thrash and like Thin Lizzy and Blue Oyster Cult and stuff. Like, really like stuff that kind of bums out like
Dude,
death
we
metal
love
kids.
it.
But
Don't worry about
you know,
it.
But I think the thing is, for me, it's all about, for what I do, it's all about the things that excited me when I first got into the genre, which is, you know, like I said, Repulsion and Entombed and Autopsy and stuff. But it would be stupid to think that a genre could continue for, you know, 24 years or however long you want to say that proper death metal's been, whether you market it Seven Churches or Scream Bloody Gore or Leprosy or whatever you think the jumping off point is, it's still over 23 years ago. And for the genre to survive, it's going to have to mutate, it's going to have to spread, it's going to have to go different directions. And I think that it's a sign that, you know, the whole idea that, you know, the guys in like Hellhammer and Possessed were doing way back in like 84, like really had some actual legs. And the fact that there's still death metal going on in 2013, yeah, of course a death metal band from 2013 doesn't sound like Hellhammer unless they're doing it on purpose. But, you know, the times change, and the fact that the genre's been able to change with it and grow and evolve and bring in new kids and still retain audiences for like Autopsy or Entombed or bands like that, it speaks pretty fucking highly of the longevity of it. And more importantly, I just think the dedication of the people that are into it. Because, you know, for a lot of music that's really popular, it gets super fucking popular and then nobody likes it whatsoever. Whereas death metal, like, yeah, I mean, it, you know, it ebbs and flows, but it's never been that popular, but it's never died out completely either. And I think it's just a testament to that the genre is musically interesting and viable, and that the people that are into it, like, give a fuck, and they're not just like, yeah, cool, this year I listen to Obituary, next year I listen to, like, Ludacris or whatever. I mean, you can listen to both at the same time, but you don't give up one for the other.
All right, that's going to do it for another episode of Extreme Metal Television. I'd like to thank everybody for checking it out, and I'd like to remind you to check out the brand new website, extrememetal.tv. I'd like to thank my co-host Mark and the rest of the EMTV crew. Right now, we're going to let you go, but first, there's a terrible tale from the road.
I got set on fire one time on tour.
Oh, you gotta explain that.
Yeah, I'm a horrific snorer when I'm wasted and pass out on my back. And our old vocalist, he was like sitting over with our merch guy at the time. We're in Kansas City. He's like, "Am I allowed to swear?"
Yeah, sure.
Okay, he's like, "Fuck his snoring!" Like, "Fuck his snoring!" All this, and like he comes over and douses my leg in jeans and lighter fluid. At first, I did a tiny flame and then snuffed it out because they were kind of nervous. And then they were like, "Fuck it," and then doused it. And like the flame got big. The flame went like this high, and then I finally woke up, and they're like, "Sean, you're on fire!" I'm like, running, I'm like, shit, like,
oh, he did?
I had to like stop, drop, and roll. I'm like, the only thing that went through my head was like, stop, drop, and roll, stop, drop, and roll. I had to like snuff me out. I'm like, strip my pants off. I'm like, fuck you guys! Like, and then they locked me out on the balcony. It was a crazy night.